Welcome to Leigh Dickey TV. Hit subscribe to follow along with the fun. Now let's get on to today's video. I've very recently seen one of the most over-the-top Price is Right contestants that probably ever existed. I tell you all about them next. Alright, so this over-the-top Price is Right contestant. Now I am recording this on June 11th. You guys will probably hear and see this on June 16th. This episode is from June 8th of this year, 2021. Now, you know, it's cool to see The Price is Right come back and figure out how to produce a television show in the current times that we're in. And I understand that, like, you know, with a television and radio and broadcasting and production background like I have and like I do, you know, I understand that with certain contests and, you know, certain sort of, like with a game show, you want people that are excited, you want people that are happy, right? But this particular contestant, I'm not going to reveal their name, but if you were watching on June 8th, you probably know who I'm talking about. This particular person was just way too over the top. Now, I understand that, like, not everyone gets to be on The Price is Right. Not everyone gets to be on a game show. And not everybody gets to experience, like, what it's like to be on a show like The Price is Right, or, you know, your typical run-of-the-mill game show. And I'm not saying that, like, The Price is Right is, like, run-of-the-mill, but it just, not everybody gets to experience what it's like to be on a game show, especially one of the magnitude of The Price is Right, with Drew Carey, George Gray, and all the staff and the models there and all those prizes. I get that, right? You're excited to be there. You're happy to be there. But, you know, coming from, say, like a television viewer, like I was that day, and with somebody who has a television production and a radio background, myself, like I do, it's just, and, you know, getting to know the ins and outs of, say, like, production and broadcasting and how things like this are put together, it's a little, you know, concerning and a little, I found it annoying, because pretty much all it was this woman shrieking with excitement every chance she got. Like, it sounded like she was just nails on a chalkboard constantly throughout the entire show. It was just like, woo, screaming, just really happy to be there. And I was just kind of like, stop it. Because it was like this shrieking, nails on a chalkboard sound. And I'm not trying to, you know, throw shade or take a shot at this woman or anything, but it's just like, there's excited and then there's way too over the top. I don't know whether she thought that the cameras were always going to be on her or what, or whether that was just her natural reaction, but it was just really annoying, and I kept having to flip back and forth between the show and something else. Like, I had to change channels just because I needed a break, like, from that auditory shriek that she would give. Like, I understand, oh my god, I won, oh my god, I'm up on stage, oh my god, whatever, but it's like this shrieking sort of banshee scream, and it's unnecessary. It was completely unnecessary, you know. I think she was either the second or third person called out onto stage and into their what is now Contestants Row, given that there is no live audience at the minute. But, you know, she was the second or third person called out. Right away, it was just shrieking and shrill and this banshee scream that came out of this woman as she's bouncing out from backstage, because that's where they have the Contestants Row, is on stage now because there's no live audience. So she's bouncing around, dancing, and just, you know, doing everything to get to her podium. I get that in a game show situation like The Price is Right, or anything like that CBS has, or any of the major networks have, right? Like Match Game or Pressure Luck, Card Sharks, any game show, you want excitement. You want people that are happy to be there. I'm all for it, but I mean, when you're like shrieking constantly because at everything everybody says, and just like, I get that there's excitement, I get that you're happy to be there, I get that like you're excited to be there, but when it's just this shrieking, at the top of your lungs, it turns an audience member off. And to me, it was just like I had to keep flipping channels, like I said. So I mean, she came out, did all that to get to her podium, and then it was like, woo, really happy to woo, and then and Drew is just trying to move this show along. He's like, yeah, I'm glad you're here, I'm happy you made it. And then she just starts shrieking right away, and I'm like, oh, good Lord, you get like an hour of this. And it was just, I don't know, for me it was too much. I did stick it out for the full show to see what would happen, begrudgingly, but I think she won right away too. She won like a wine fridge to get up to sort of exit contestants row and then get up on stage to play a pricing game, and that was cool. But she was shrieking the whole way, right? And I was over it, like it was. I mean, I figure her shrieking and dancing and bouncing around to get out to contestants row, I'm like, okay, this woman's just over the, like, what over the top is, and then what way over the top is when you see it. And then you get out, and then she wins that wine fridge, and I'm thinking, okay, great. But it's just, she wins, shrieks, gets to, play a pricing game for more, and before anything else is said, it's shrieking the whole way. And I'm just like, stop already. You just, I mean, she was called to contestants for about 10 minutes into the episode, and you can imagine going the rest of the way with that. So she wins a wine fridge, gets up on stage to play a pricing game, and that pricing game is Pick a Pair, where you have a selection of grocery items and you have to pick two that are the same price. The prize that she could win. Now, this is the thing that gets me about, like, I don't understand about The Price is Right. Like, if you haven't won it yet, like, you can applaud, be happy, be excited, but it's like, why scream? Like, woo, yes, you can win that, but it's not yours until you win that. That's all I'm saying, okay? And it's just, she gets up on stage, gets to play Pick a Pair. Like I said, you pick two grocery items that are of the same value. She does win, and her prize is a game room that has a TV, dartboard, and various other things that would encompass a game room. She won. More shrieking, and I'm thinking to myself that there have been, before she got up on stage to play, there have been at least two other contestants that were excited, but they weren't shrieking, they weren't screaming the whole way through. And it just, it was just this piercing sound where I was like, why? Like, why do you need to do that? And when she won the game room, it was almost like there was a delay, right? Where she didn't realize it right away, and then all of a sudden it was like, woo, and just started screeching again. And I'm like, oh, it drove me up the wall, is all I can say. Like, she won the game room, she won her pricing game, which was Pick a Pair. Good for her. She gets to spin the big wheel, for a chance at the showcase. She does that, but it's like screaming the whole way, like, woo, yes, I want. And you know how Drew or Bob before him would always say, hey, do you want to say hi to somebody? And he's just like, hi to my husband, hi to my kids, which is fine, but it's more like screaming, screeching, and this banshee coming out of her. And I'm like, why though? Like, why is she like this? I mean, I don't know whether she thinks that the camera's always going to be on her, or if she just strikes me as one of those people that thinks that she's the center of attention. I don't know. It just thinks that the camera's going to be hers for the day. I understand that for the 6 people that get to play pricing games, and for the, say, 6 rounds, 24 people that get to be in contestants row, you guys are the stars for the day, right? Like, yes, Drew is the host, George Gray is the announcer, and you have the models like Amber, George, and various others, Manuela, etc., etc. But it's just, yes, they're there, and the contestants are basically the stars, but have several other people to worry about, and not just one person. And it was just more shrieking. And I was just about at my limit, you know. Like, it was just, again, like I said, I kept having to flip back and forth between The Price is Right and something else just to take my mind off the sheer volume that she could put out. And I was like, oh, you know, maybe, and I even thought that, I was like, maybe she won't make it to the showcase. Maybe like, she won't win at the big wheel. She did, right? So she went to the showcase. And the thing is, they got to the showcase, more shrieking, more screaming at the top of her lungs, with, you know, more fervor than there was before. And I just kept thinking, like, why? Again, as somebody that's worked in TV and radio and various production elements, like, I understand that with a game show, you want excitement. But there's excitement, and then there's just way too much. And I think that's what she exhibited. But if you're just happy to be there, great. There are several other people. There were dozens of other people that were there that day that were happy to be there. They weren't that excited. They weren't screaming their lungs out. That's my point. And this woman was, and it was just driving me up the wall. So she won her showcase, right? She was the closest without going over. I think she won a car and various other prizes totaling like $26,000, $27,000. More shrieking. So like I said, she won her showcase. It was $26,000, $27,000 worth of stuff. And it was just, she went from shrieking up at the podium to shrieking and running all over the stage to check out her prizes. And you could tell, like, Drew was even kind of like, yeah, come on, right? Like, it's a bit much. And, I mean, you could see the expression on some of the models' faces. They're, like, kind of looking over their shoulder while she's standing there. And I'm like, again, I'm not trying to throw shade, but it was just way too much. I'm not trying to, you know, talk ill of this person at all, but it just, for me, and I think for a few other people that may have been watching that day, it was just, she was way over the top. I mean, it was the June 8th episode of Price is Right of this year. And it was just, like, it was way too much. I mean, if you were watching that day, you probably know who I'm talking about. But it was just shrieking for an hour, right? Every time they come back, and it was like, woo, more shrieking. And I can't, you know, hit that register. Plus, like, I don't want to alarm my neighbors or anything. But it was just shrieking beyond belief. And it was just too much for me. Like, from an auditory standpoint, I'm surprised I still have my eardrums. From a visual standpoint, it was like, oh, goodness, like, you know, turn it off, turn it down. And, you know, towards, like, when they got to the end, when she got to check out the prizes that she'd won in the final showcase, they bring the mics down customarily, right, and then roll the credits. And it was just like, oh, silence. You know, like, you could still see that she was excited, but you didn't have to hear the shrieking and the banshee screams and the shrill. And I'm like, stop. And it was quiet, and I was like, oh, goodness, the show is over. Okay, great. And, you know, you could see that the staff that were there that would come out, like the models, George Gray, Drew, customarily, they'd come over and wave to the cameras at the end of the show, right? Because they'd tape multiple episodes in a day, I'm sure. But it was way too much. Way too much. It was too much for that length of a show. It was like just too much screaming, too much excitement from one person, or that one person normally exudes in a show. I mean, the only thing I could equate it to was another episode of The Price is Right from about season 45, which was 2017, I think. And, you know, it was just, I'll get to that one really quickly in just a second. So I can't believe I'm going to say this, but that woman I just described on the June 8th show from this year, The Price is Right, there is a comparison. There was a woman that was on an episode in season 45 of The Price is Right when Drew had, like, that platinum blonde hair. It was really short, right? And he was clean shaven. But there was this woman that, she was called down to Contestants Row, and this was in 2017. She called down to Contestants Row. She got so excited that she rolled out of her seat, rolled into the aisle, got on her knees, put her hands in like this praying position, looked up at the sky, said, thank you, and then rolled down, she was at the top of the very back of the studio. She rolled down all that way to Contestants Row, and they had to pull her up, to get her to stand in Contestants Row. I forget what she won, and I remember that she didn't make it all the way, but she wanted to get up on stage, and she won a pricing game, right? So when she won the pricing game, it was just, she was like way too excited, just screaming every time somebody would ask her a question. And it was just kind of like, why? I don't understand. I understand that there's excitement, and like I get that you're excited to be there, but why turn the volume all the way up? If you wouldn't normally do that in any other given situation, just think of these people that are putting on, say, this game show and producing it. They're just regular people. I mean, yes, Drew Carey and the people on The Price is Right, the models, George Gray, they're on TV every day, but they're just regular people, right? Maybe, I'm spoiled in that, I've worked in television and media and other forms of production for most of my adult life, so maybe I'm just used to it. But it's just, she got on stage after, doing acrobatics in the aisleway and then rolling all the way down to Contestants Row, having them pull her up. She wanted to get on stage. I forget what pricing game she was playing, but she won, did the splits, okay, and Drew's just kind of standing back a little perplexed, a lot like he was with this woman that I described previously, who was just screaming the whole show. But this woman from season 45 won her pricing game, did the splits, and then proceeded to sort of crawl she was going through a doggy door through Drew's leg, or tried to through Drew's legs. She got on all fours and just tried to crawl through Drew's legs, and I think he understood that, or figured it out, and spread his legs far enough that she could. I've never seen that much excitement out of somebody, and it just, I'm all for excited, but I mean, that's just a bit too much for somebody like me. That's just all I'm saying, right? I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody. You get as excited as you want, but people are going to react differently. And to be fair, when it comes to shrieking for an entire show and screaming for an entire show, there are people that are going to turn it off. There are people that are going to change the channel. There are people that are going to flip back and forth just because they want an auditory and even a visual break from that, and those are the two, very quickly, sort of contestants that I think were way over the top when it comes to The Price is Right, or even any game show for that matter. But tell me, were you watching The Price is Right on June 8th? Do you have any sort of stories of over-the-top contestants that you've seen on game shows, whether it's The Price is Right or any other? Let me know. Post it all down in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. I've been Leigh Dickey. Comment, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks again. Please take care. We'll talk to you later. Peace. Thanks for tuning in to Leigh Dickey TV. New episodes are available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe to follow along with the fun.